Welcome to McDougall. You'll feel like holding your breath before this show is over when you find out how polluted the air inside your house really is. Hello, I'm Wayne Judd. And now the nation's favorite Whopper Stomper, Dr. John. Is it true that you're stomping out all the whoppers, the lies that people tell?
Oh, I thought they were burgers.
No, no. You're stomping out the lies.
Well, I try.
All of those lies we hear.
In preparation for this show, I understand you took a nap?
I guess I have to admit that. I feel vulnerable just saying so.
Does that make you feel better or worse?
I felt a little worse for a while, but the minute I came in and met the live audience, and you, of course,
everything was fine.
I'm just fine.
You know, for some people, that nap can be a disaster.
Oh,
and for
really?
some people, yeah, it can ruin the rest of their day. As a matter of fact, for some people, it can put them into profound depression.
Really?
That's it. And this comes out of research where they've taken people who are severely depressed, I mean people who are ready to commit suicide,
right,
and they apply a therapy that's revolutionary. It's non-toxic, it's highly effective, it's self-administered, in fact it's free. It's called sleep deprivation. Okay. And what they've done is they've studied it in 60 different journals. It's been published in 17 different countries, and they've looked at 1,400 patients. And these are psychiatrists who look at this, and this is published in journals such as the American Journal of Psychiatry. Mm-hmm. They take folks who have depression, and like I say, often very severe depression. What they do is they deprive them of sleep, and by the next night, nearly 70% of them are entirely free of their depression. And it's become a highly effective treatment.
Wait a minute.
But unfortunately, it's non-profitable, so it's not a very popular treatment. But
let me review what I think you just said. If people are depressed, it may be because they're sleeping too much?
Too much. Now, what we're taught in our society is we're taught that it's ideal to get 8 hours and more is better,
yes,
8 hours sleep. Well, an adult doesn't need 8 hours sleep.
How much?
Adult maybe needs an hour. We're talking about a healthy adult. Somebody who's sick, somebody may be pregnant, may need more sleep.
All right.
But a healthy adult will need 5, 5.5, 6, maybe 7.5 hours sleep. When you force yourself to sleep more, what happens is you can become very depressed. There's a depressogenic substance produced by sleep. Now, scientists don't know exactly what it is, but they do know it occurs, and they do know by sleep deprivation you can make that disappear. And people who are treated with sleep deprivation, if they take that one, you called it a power nap, that they have in the afternoon, 15 minutes of napping can drop them into profound depression.
That's amazing. Now, do they have to have an overdose of sleep to begin with? In other words, they've been sleeping too much and they sleep even more?
They have more sleep than they need.
But if you sleep 5 hours a night, shouldn't you then enjoy a power nap in the afternoon?
Well, you may get away with it. You may be that kind of person that does get away with it.
But you think people can sleep 5 hours and not sleep in the day?
Oh, absolutely. Many adults do. In fact, many older people will sleep, 4 hours, and that will be all they can sleep. When they try and get more, they develop insomnia. What happens is somebody believes you need 8 hours sleep, so they try and get 8 hours one night. Maybe they succeed. Maybe they try again the next night and they succeed. Then the third night, their batteries are all overcharged, and they can't sleep at all that night.
So how much do you sleep?
I sleep about 6.5, 7 hours a night, and that's fine for me. But the important thing is that you understand that you have this tool to control depression. Now, this has worked. It's worked phenomenally in my practice. I remember one woman called me up on my radio show, and she said, John, she said, I want you to know that my life has been a misery. I've suffered terribly, and I've made the people around me suffer terribly because of depression. I got a wonderful husband. He has a wonderful job. I have wonderful kids, but there's always this cloud over my head. And I heard you talk about the association of sleep, too much sleep, and depression. She says, I tried it. She said, I cut back to 5.5, 6 hours a night. She says, I want you to know I haven't had one day of depression in the last 3 weeks except one day. And that was the day my husband forgot to set the alarm, and I overslept and the day was ruined. Now, people can relate to this. If you think about how on Saturdays or Sundays you may sleep in, and the day does not go as well. You feel a little blue, a little depressed. Well, for some people, it's profound, and the treatment is phenomenal. Now, it doesn't mean you have to stay up the whole night. But what you do, and of course you would do that with somebody who's psychiatrically very ill and under a doctor's supervision. You would stay up the whole night and get rid of the depression. But just managing your sleep. Now what you do is you try and balance it so that you get enough sleep to relieve fatigue, but not so much that you oversleep and induce this state of depression by the depressogenic substance that's created.
It's amazing. So
there are, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to ask, you're suggesting that the reason we don't know more about this, and I suspect that a lot of people aren't aware of this, is that it's
Nonprofit.
It's nonprofit.
You can't put it in a pill and sell it to somebody.
You can't sell this program.
If we could sell whatever removes that depressogenic substance and put it in a pill, it would be the #1 psychiatric drug in the country. Two other things I want to close with. Also, what you eat changes your mental attitude, relieves depression and anxiety, and also exercise is very important. So you have tremendous control with these non-toxic, self-administered, free methods of dealing with your mental well-being. And a lot of people out there are suffering unnecessarily because they're not aware of these tools, and they end up on antipsychotic and antidepressant drugs. So I hope you're not depressed from your power nap, because we have an absolutely fantastic show.
Sounds good.
We're going to talk about indoor pollution. Our guest, Deborah Lynn Dad, is an expert on this, so please join us. Please stay tuned. Yeah.
Hello. The job market is a competitive place. In today's economy, extra skills mean a better job for you. Speaking English is the skill you need for greater opportunity, more money, and a brighter future. Introducing Hello Channel, an exciting new television channel that teaches English as you watch TV. There's something for everyone, and the more you watch, the faster you'll learn. All you have to do is say hello.
And welcome back. With us, Deborah Lynn Dad. The name of the book is Non-Toxic Home and Office. It's one of 3 books that she has in print, all dealing with the same subject, and that is how to clean up your environment, particularly your home and office. I didn't think there was a problem.
Well, you know, I didn't think there was a problem either until 1980 when I got really, really sick. And I became sensitive to all kinds of products that were in my home. And it wasn't because I worked in a pesticide factory or something like that. I was just a piano teacher sitting at home all day long. And then I became sensitive to these things. And the only way I could recover from my illnesses was to pinpoint the toxics and remove them from the house.
What kind of reactions did you have?
I had a lot of reactions that seemed to be unrelated to each other. Like I had headaches and fatigue all the time. I used to faint when I would take a shower because the chlorine fumes coming out of the water. I used to binge eat. I used to just totally space out and not be able to even know where I was sometimes.
So how does, Deborah, how does a piano teacher attack the chemicals in her home or the bad polluting things in her home? I can't imagine.
Well, I had to start off and just do some basic research. One of the things that people usually don't realize is that what's actually in the product isn't on the label, that there are certain products like food products where that's required by law, but the most toxic products we have in our homes, cleaning products, are not required to list the ingredients. They're only required to put on warning labels. And so I had to look in toxicology books and in government regulations and on manufacturers' safety data sheets to find out what was really in the product, look in the toxicology book to find out what kind of symptoms are associated with the product, and then be able to determine.
Yeah, but there had to be a step before that, because all the things you described, the fatigue, the headaches, the body aches, and so on, all these things have been attributed to lots of disorders. Hypoglycemia, for example, or the yeast connection or infection that people get. I mean, there are such non-specific things. So why in the world did you decide that it was due to, you know, the wax on your table or the
Well, I suspected it. I suspected it because my mother, prior to this, had died of cancer, and at an early age. She was only 51. And in the course of looking for treatment, my father wanted to get intravenous vitamin C treatments for her. And we went to a doctor who was a clinical ecologist who was testing people for having chemical reactions. And my father would see people being tested and he'd say, "This is what's wrong with my daughter." And I actually had quite a dramatic scene one night where people who are chemically sensitive know that if you're having a big reaction, you can take Alka-Seltzer in the gold package and it'll stop your reaction. But I didn't know that at the time. And he found that out from this doctor, and he gave it to me in the midst of this huge reaction I was having, and I stopped my reaction.
And why Alka-Seltzer in a gold package? The aspirin,
why does that
or does
work?
it have antihistamine?
Because
what is in it?
I think it doesn't have the aspirin in it. It's only the, baking soda and all those neutralizing things.
Right.
So it isn't a histamine.
And this is a pretty generalized test that people talk about with food sensitivity.
People who are sensitive know that this is a trick they can use. Yeah. And it was because he showed me that my reaction could be turned off. I started looking at, well, if there's this possibility that toxic chemicals can make me react like that, then I need to find out about that. And as I found each toxic substance and removed it, my symptoms started going away one by one.
You know, there are actually laboratories around the country that are called environmental labs. I'm sure you're familiar with, where they just do the whole thing at one time. They just remove the entire allergic environment from you, put you in a sterile room, and then start adding them back. But you kind of took it from the other way.
I took it from the other way.
One at a time took it out, yeah.
And over the process of about 3 weeks, it only took about 3 weeks. I mean, I stopped wearing perfume and I didn't have headaches anymore. I stopped sleeping on sheets that were permanent pressed and had formaldehyde on them, and I didn't have insomnia anymore. It was very cut and dried for me.
Well, tell me, how can you stand being with us here in this room that probably has all these things in it?
I'm recovered.
You're healed.
You think so? Being away from it long enough has made a difference?
Yes.
You actually researched this on your own and wrote 3 books. That's incredible.
Well, I've written 5 books. 2 of them are out of print and now updated. Like this came out originally as The Non-Toxic Home.
Well, that's just remarkable, Deborah. Absolutely remarkable.
And so the bottom line, though, is to take the substances out and you get better, and then notice that when they're added back into your environment, you get sick. Is that correct?
That's exactly right.
And that's the whole test. It's a essentially cost-free, self-administered test.
It is. But now let me just say, too, that some people are having so many reactions that they're overlapping with each other.
Right.
And so it's really important to keep a journal as to, you know, you stopped using this and this symptom went away. And you see your symptoms kind of unpeel as you remove more and more. But I actually think that people, whether they're sensitive or not, need to be considering removing household toxics from their home entirely.
Just because of
because
they're
not
toxic.
only because they're toxic, they really are poisonous.
They are
That's reason enough to me.
That chemical sensitivity is only one
and
response.
I imagine you have some alternatives to these products.
A lot of alternatives. And I can honestly say that people can live within their homes totally 100% non-toxically.
They can even get the toxic formaldehyde out of the wood, right?
Practically, they
Almost.
can block it.
Well, we're going to get to some practical suggestions because people really want to know what possible substances could be bothering them, and also what are the solutions, what are the substitutes in terms of products, household products that they can use. And so we're going to give them lots and lots of practical information.
Lots of things here.
The name of the book is Non-Toxic Home and Office. Deborah Lynn Dad is our guest, and we'll be back with you in just a moment after this break.
Children can learn English by watching Hello Channel.
I did something you mentioned in our last class. I drew pictures with my 5-year-old last night. Who knew she had so much to say?
I didn't understand the assignment.
I did the other thing you said. You know, get down on their level. Make eye contact.
And then we just walked around the park, past the school, then we had to go by Bobby Felden's house.
I had no idea my son wanted to play the piano.
Okay, slow down. I got park, school, talk, piano. What was the other thing?
I'll be honest, at first, I was really frightened. Can you imagine a man my size playing hopscotch? But you know what? It really got things going. We related. We really did.
Very good. Next week's assignment is to eat dinner together every night and tell me what changes in your family.
Do we get extra credit for dessert?
Excellent. Class dismissed.
Give your family everything. Give them your time. From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
And welcome back. Deborah Lynn Dad is with us. We're talking about things that may trouble you. Now, we're not trying to specifically single out any products, but just to give you some idea of where the sources of sensitivity may be in your household and some alternatives. You've got water here. That's obviously
this is non-toxic.
That is non-toxic water.
This is non-toxic water.
All right.
Although, I should just say, as an aside, there are a lot of pollutants in water itself.
Like chlorine.
Like chlorine.
The
like
chlorine is
fluoride,
so bad in
like
the water in my house.
pesticides.
When I get out of the shower, I smell like chlorine. It's just absolutely
You
terrible.
need a shower filter. There are little tiny filters that you put on. They cost about $50, and it filters out all the chlorine.
You're going to have to give me the address for that next. I am sick of smelling like chlorine.
Okay.
What do you think?
I like it, John.
You like it? Well, that's okay. So what do we use water as an alternative for?
Well, actually, this is here. As an alternative to ammonia. Now, ammonia is something that we all think is safe and our grandmothers use and everything, but actually it's very irritating to eyes and to lungs.
Stick your nose over it, and that's obvious.
You're supposed to, I didn't read this before the show, but usually they have a warning label on here that says use in a well-ventilated area. It's actually pretty toxic, and an alternative you can use.
Poison, it says poison right here.
Poison, see, I knew that was on there somewhere. You can just get a plain plastic squirt bottle at any hardware store, fill it half up with water, half with vinegar, and it works really well just as an all-purpose cleaner. It cuts through grease. It's great for cleaning your windows.
Half water, half vinegar.
Half water,
Sounds
half vinegar.
good.
And just distilled white vinegar, the cheapest stuff.
You know, one of the things I learned in my medical training was the solution to pollution is dilution.
Yes,
That's right. And so water cleans up a lot of things.
It does.
Yes.
And even hot water cleans up a lot of things and disinfects too. So another thing I want to mention is mothballs, which are 100% para-dichlorobenzene.
That's
now,
scary.
what you do with these mothballs, if you use them according to instructions, is you put them in this small little closet and close the door where there's no ventilation. And maybe you could find on here where it says only use in a well-ventilated area.
Oh, it does say no. It says no clinging odors. That's nice. I've never smelled mothballs that don't cling.
But there's lots of alternatives. Here's one that they just picked up off the shelf that is filled with aromatic cedar. But you could also use just dried lavender. You can use dried cloves.
You could use cedar chips.
You could use cedar chips. You could use cedar balls. It doesn't have to come in all this packaging.
You know, the reason it's so hard to find that is because they use they mask it with language. Precautionary statements. It says, isn't that elegant?
Yes,
Precautionary statements. Hazard to humans and domestic animals. There it is.
Scary.
Yep. So I do want to point out, too, about formaldehyde on bed sheets. Now, I mentioned this earlier, but this was one of the most dramatic things that I discovered, and that is that, you know, there's so many people taking sleeping pills in this country, and one of the biggest symptoms associated with formaldehyde exposure, I mean, a lot of people know about the itchy eyes and the runny nose, but insomnia is one of the biggest symptoms associated with formaldehyde exposure. And polyester cotton sheets or even permanent pressed cotton sheets are soaked in formaldehyde resin, and this never comes off in the lifetime of the sheet.
That's terrifying.
And so here we have a polyester cotton sheet.
We could be sleeping in formaldehyde?
We're sleeping
That's what they put
in
dead things in, isn't it?
Yes, that's exactly right.
They also, the pressed board in your homes, isn't that correct, is made with formaldehyde?
The particle board is made with formaldehyde too. And so I recommend to people now that, like, here's a sample of a box that says undyed, untreated, unbleached. It doesn't have any formaldehyde finishes.
Just a plain old sheet.
It's just a plain old cotton sheet, and they're really wonderful. And all cotton.
Well, what would be the difference?
Sheets,
why would they take the trouble to put all? There must be some advantage to put the formaldehyde on.
Because it makes it not wrinkle. But, you know, I've used these sheets, and they don't wrinkle that badly once you put them on the bed.
Where can you buy them, Deborah?
Any department store.
You can actually buy them, but you just have to look so that it says there's nothing there but cotton.
That's right.
Okay, got it. Sounds good.
Hypoallergenic. They obviously have seen a market there.
Yes, and this particular brand has been out for several years, and it continues to sell. So let's talk about, I like this stuff, fleas. I have a cat, and the thing that I've learned about fleas is that if you feed your cat a healthy diet, they will not have fleas. And you don't even have to give them brewer's yeast or any of those things. If you just give them a good, healthy, whole food diet, they won't have fleas.
Huh? Okay.
If you've got carpets, though, like I had a situation where we were living in a rented house, and the fleas from the previous cat got on my cat.
They never die. Those little suckers never die,
they live in the carpet. And so what you can do is, this is diatomaceous earth, and if you were to look at it under a microscope, it looks like has little sharp edges on it. And you rub it into the cat's fur, and the little sharp edges lacerate the fleas.
I love it.
and it kills them. But then if you want to do something herbal, you can like rub in eucalyptus oil or something, but rub it into the fur. Don't just put a herbal collar.
But don't they put boric acid in the carpets to kill the fleas?
You can put boric acid in the carpet.
Would that be safe?
But what's more effective actually is to take all the plants and fish and children and everything out of your house and turn up the heat to like 120 degrees, and it'll kill all the fleas.
And they also have a freezing technique that kills all the bugs for houses too. That would be safe.
They do, yes, that would be safe.
So there are some alternatives. I like that because I have a dog. You think this would work with my dog
This will work on your dog, and you can get a whole huge box of it for like $5 at a Pole Supply store.
I like that. What else
do you have some other things? We're running out of time, unfortunately.
Well, we have lots of things here. Let's talk about furniture polish. Now, furniture polish has a lot of toxic substances in it, and in fact, when you have something in an aerosol spray, instead of the substance going like on your table, it goes in your eyes and in your lungs, and so then you have toxic substances there. I just use mayonnaise.
On your furniture?
On my furniture.
Sandwiches?
You can.
Well, that's great, because John says you can't use it on your sandwiches, so now you can use it on your furniture.
There you go.
Yeah, leftover mayonnaise.
What you do with your leftover mayonnaise? Put it on your furniture. I don't know about that.
No, it really works, and it doesn't smell like a delicatessen.
How about the lemon? Can't we put the lemon on there in the mayonnaise, then we have it smell like lemon?
Well, what you can do with the lemon is you can make like salad dressing furniture polish, where you take oil and lemon, and then you just put it on.
Fantastic suggestions. Deborah Lynn Dad, the name of the book is The Non-Toxic Home and Office, and we'll be back in just a moment. This is really practical.
Learn English and have fun.
Well, welcome back. With us, Deborah Lynn Dad. We're talking about how to clean up your environment so you can be healthier, so you can get rid of some of the things that you may not know what the cause is, but you're certainly troubled by them. Headaches, all kinds of fatigue.
Actually, any symptom that you're having could be associated with.
It's not normal to be sick.
No, our bodies want to naturally be healthy.
Right. Great. So you take this furniture polish and...
Well, I'm going to put it on a piece of white bread and go home and do my furniture, John. Would that work out?
That would be fine. I think that's what it was designed for.
Great stuff. It doesn't say that on here, though, that it works for furniture polish, but that's what we'll do.
Doesn't matter.
All right.
And what else do you have for us?
Well, we've got some hairspray here, and the thing that amazed me about hairspray is that it's actually made out of plastic called polyvinyl pyrrolidone. And women who use it a lot, like hairdressers, get this lung disease. And they've actually found that if they stop using hairspray, that their lung disease actually clears up.
Well, what alternative do you have? I mean, you have to, not just women, but men have to have their hair
I use it. Do you use it, John? You use hairspray?
I don't.
Give us a little confession.
Well, one of the things that you can do is you can use a non-aerosol. That makes it not go in your lungs so much.
Yes.
And look on the ingredients labels. Like this one came from a supermarket, but if you went to a natural food store, they'll have all natural ingredients. Or you can actually make your own by putting a few tablespoons of honey into some warm water, into a squirt bottle. And the more honey you put in, the stickier.
The name of the book is The Non-Toxic Home and Office, Deborah Lynn Dad. Fantastic material, real practical. I want to thank you very much.
Thank you.
And folks, please join us next time. Great.